but your questions may be answered as we move along in the presentation. So it may behoove all of us to wait until the end. But if there is a question that comes up multiple times or something that Stacy thinks is pertinent for that particular section of the presentation, then she will interrupt or she will let me know and we can try to address that in the moment. So Stacy, before we get started, I do want to do the first couple poll questions that we had. We have 5 polling questions total today that we'll do throughout the presentations, but we're going to start with 2. So I don't know if you can go ahead and pop up that first one. Perfect, there it is.
I was going to ask, can you see it? Can you see me now?
I can see it. I hope everybody else can see it.
And so if, Jennifer, real quick, I just wanted to, if you're a host or a co-host, do not answer because it will close.
Okay, I wasn't going to touch it.
Those things you learn the hard way.
I was not going to touch it. Okay, good. So we'll give you just a couple more seconds there. And Stacy, I don't know at what point you can kind of just decide to shut it down. It looks like we've got most of them in.
I will end now and share results. There we
Perfect.
go.
So looks like 76%. So right about 3/4 of you are parents of a child with disability. And then we have about 24% or roughly 1/4 of the people who are professionals, case managers, attorneys, financial advisors, et cetera, working with people with disabilities. So that's great. We're so glad that all of you are here today. And I'm just honored to be with you again. Okay, one more question and then we'll get going. Stacey, if you can go ahead and put up the second polling question.
Yes. Can you see me now?
Yes.
Perfect.
So second question, how much have you heard about STABLE accounts prior to today? I have never heard about STABLE. I've heard of STABLE account, but I know very little. I consider myself fairly knowledgeable about STABLE accounts, or I believe I know as much as the presenter about STABLE accounts. And if you're choosing that last option, then I might have to call on you at some point and get you to pipe in. Very good. All right, we're getting close there. We got about 76% in, it looks like.
Jennifer, I don't know if anybody else in the back of your mind is hearing do, 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 do.
Always, you know, whenever there's downtime with questions going, Jeopardy is, you got to be thinking about Jeopardy.
Right.
What is?
Yeah. Are you ready now?
I think so. Looks like about 80% in, so.
Okay, we will share results.
Very good. Okay, so we have kind of an array of people here. Never heard about a STABLE account, 28%. That's awesome. I'm so glad you guys are here. Heard about a STABLE account, but know very little. Also great, 60% of you. And then 12% of you consider yourself fairly knowledgeable, which is great too. So hopefully we can answer maybe some more specific questions you may have, or just give everybody a little bit better understanding today. So with that said, thank you so much, Stacy, and let's get going on this presentation here. I'm gonna see, can I just close that? Yes. Okay, so first thing, what is ABLE? You may be aware, but ABLE is an acronym, stands for Achieving a Better Life Experience. The ABLE Act was passed federally in 2014 to allow people with disabilities to save without affecting their eligibility for government benefits such as SSI and Medicaid. So a huge improvement, so to speak, and we're going to get more into that. But that is what ABLE stands for. ABLE is a national thing, but it is administered, so to speak, on a state level. Let me see. An ABLE account, it is technically an investment account, but it has hybrid functionality. So it is like each of the things that are on the screen here. It is like a 529 college savings plan in that it helps you grow money for future use. It is like a checking account in that it's transactional. You can use it, you know, you can deposit funds, you can withdraw funds, you can make payments and that type of thing from it. And it's like a special needs, oh, I'm sorry.
Wanted to make sure that everybody could see your screen. I think that's the case, though. Thanks, Jennifer.
Okay, everybody can see?
Yep, it is available. Thanks.
Okay. And then the last thing there, it is like a special needs trust in the sense that it is a protected resource. So it doesn't count towards as a resource for purposes of government benefits. So let's move on. So this is one of the questions that everybody tends to have. So what is Georgia Stable? Is it the same thing as ABLE? Is it not? Georgia Stable is Georgia's ABLE account plan. So it is technically the same thing. A stable account is an ABLE account. Stable is a partnership among 12 states, Ohio being the first one, and they kind of lead the charge, but it is a partnership called STABLE. So that's why I think originally it was an acronym for something, but now I would just say the ST on the front just kind of stands for state. So if you think of it as a state ABLE plan, and it is, like I said, a partnership between states, but it is Georgia's ABLE plan. So it is the same thing as an ABLE plan. We launched our program on June 14th of 2017, as you can hopefully see there. And it was really a strategic thing to enter into the partnership with Ohio and the STABLE partners, because it allows us to benefit from sort of a collective strength that we have. Georgia, when the General Assembly of Georgia passed or created the Georgia Stable accounts or program, they did not appropriate any funds for that, which is not unusual. I think there are a lot of states that don't have funds appropriated to their ABLE plans. So because of that, we jumped on board with the biggest ABLE program, the biggest ABLE program, and really, in my opinion, probably the best one. And it is the one that has the most accounts nationwide. So the STABLE partnership represents the largest collection, I guess, of ABLE accounts nationwide. Hopefully that answers that question. But so the benefits of STABLE accounts, it dramatically increases a person with disabilities' ability to save money. Whereas before the ABLE Act, you were only able to save $2,000 or less, essentially. You weren't allowed to have more than $2,000 in your account without risk of losing some of your government benefits. Now you can save well over that in an ABLE account and without risk of losing your benefits. So I like to say no more Bank of the Mattresses or Bank of Aunt Lois or anything like that. I'm not going to point fingers or ask, what if any of you have done that, but this was really, really good news. Let's see. Actually, hold on. Before we go to that next slide, Stacey, can you pull up the third polling question? Sorry, I might be putting you on the spot here.
You are not at all. Let me go to, let's see. Third polling question. Because of?
Mm-hmm.
All right, here we go.
So because of the $2,000 resource limit of Medicaid and or SSI eligibility, I or the person I support, and then you need to check all that apply. Have you considered saving money? Have you spent down to reduce accountable resources? Do you have any long-term financial goals or do you not because of that? And do you plan to always rely on funds from public benefits because of that limit? And it does say check all that apply, so you can check them all, I guess, if you want, if that applies to you. Looking good. We're about halfway there with the people, I think.
And Jennifer, while we're waiting for that, I just want to reiterate something that Doug had shared earlier, and that we will be sending out the handouts and the PowerPoint. This is being recorded, and as soon as I clean it up just a bit, it will be on our Facebook page, and I will follow up with an email to those who register to let you know where to find all that.
Great. Thank you so much.
Okay. You ready, Jennifer?
Yeah, I think you can go ahead.
Share results.
So yeah, all of these have been for you guys. 54% saying you've not considered saving money because you haven't been able to. 63% say that you've spent down to reduce your accountable resources. 42% saying that you don't have any long-term financial goals. So this, series that Stacey and the ARC are putting on, I'm sure is a great help for you guys. And then lastly, 42% of you plan to always rely on funds for public benefits as a result of that $2,000 resource limit. So hopefully today I am bringing good news to you, especially for those of you who maybe have never heard of Georgia Stable or ABLE accounts, and for those of you who haven't heard very much about it. Thank you, Stacy. I don't know if I just need to close that. I'm just going to close that. Okay. So continuing on the benefits of stable accounts, further benefits are ownership. It is owned by the person with the disability. They are the beneficiary of the account. And I think that is I know that's a difference with special needs trust. Special needs trust, the person with a disability does not own the account. It also just provides financial independence, as you can imagine, for a person with disability to have their own money, their own way to save and invest for the future and think towards the future. And then lastly, the tax benefits. Money that, or interest that is gained from an ABLE account is earned tax-free. So there are no taxes on earnings in an ABLE account, which is a huge benefit. As you may know, if you have some other accounts, other savings and investment accounts, that's a huge benefit. So eligibility, who is eligible? We do have an eligibility quiz on our website, just so you know that from the outset. In general, it is individuals with disabilities that occurred prior to age 26. Now, I will say a caveat on that because I know Stacy and those of the ARC are part of this or have been advocates, but there is an Age Adjustment Act that is being advocated for, I guess, on Capitol Hill, and that could be coming in the future. But as of today, it is still age 26. The Age Adjustment Act would change it to 46. So it would be quite a help for a lot of people. And so we're hopeful that that will happen so that many more lives can be improved by having an ABLE account. But as of today, it is for individuals with disabilities that occurred prior to age 26. So with that is the first caveat, and then plus one of the following things that you see on the screen. You're either eligible to receive SSI or SSDI due to a disability, or you have a condition listed on the Social Security Administration's list of compassionate allowances conditions. That is a mouthful. Try saying that 10 times fast. Or self-certification, and we're going to get to self-certification in the next slide. And I think someone had a question about if you needed a diagnosis, and so we maybe will answer that on the next slide. So again, individuals with disabilities that occurred prior to age 26 and one of the things on the screen there. So what is self-certification? You do need a diagnosis of a physical or mental impairment that causes marked and severe functional limitations. That language is important. It doesn't have to be verbatim in a diagnosis. It is helpful if the doctor words it just like that, but they don't have to. But that is sort of the key phrase, marked and severe functional limitations. And the condition has to have lasted or is expected to last for at least 1 year. And then when you are enrolling or opening an ABLE account, a Georgia Stable account, you do not need to turn in the written diagnosis, but it does need to be available if it was requested. So that should be kind of on file, and you should be ready to show that to someone should they ask for it. So enrollment is fairly quick and easy. It's online, it's free, takes approximately 20 minutes. It does require a $50 opening balance transfer. There is no fee to open the account. It's just that in order to activate the account, essentially you need to deposit $50. And it can be done either by the individual with the disability, the beneficiary, or by an authorized legal representative, parent, guardian, or power of attorney. Okay, let's see here. So funding your account, how do you fund your account? There is a lifetime limit. I know that may sound strange to have a limit on it, but it is currently $400,000 to $82,000. If you are getting to that point and having an issue because your balance is too great, we would love to hear from you. We would love for that to be a problem. But as of right now, that is the lifetime limit balance. So if the balance in your Georgia Stable account reaches $482,000, you will continue to earn interest on that balance, but you cannot contribute anymore until the balance falls below that limit, if that makes sense. Also, if the person with disability or the beneficiary is not employed, you can contribute up to $15,000 a year into the account. And that can come from a lot of different places, parents, family, friends, the individual, him or herself. But if you are not employed, you can contribute $15,000 a year. If you are employed, the person with the disability or the beneficiary of the account, if they are employed, they can also contribute another $12,490 from their earnings that year. And so the total then goes to $27,490 for the year. So that is an annual limit to contributions to the account, and then you have the lifetime limit of $482,000 that I mentioned before. Let's see. Funding your account. To get money into the account, you can electronically transfer it just like you would, I do, I Venmo a lot of people a lot of times for different things. And so, you just kind of provide your account number and your routing number, and then it will transfer the funds into the account. You can also write a physical check, good old fashioned writing a check. And there is an address on the website once you open an account that will tell you where to send those checks to contribute money. I think a really cool feature of the STABLE accounts is this EGift Event. You're able to basically send a link, an email goes out to friends, family, or anyone that you want it to go out to. And it's a great thing to use for special events like a birthday or graduation or Christmas or anything else that you might, anything else that might come up. And whereas before, before the ABLE Act was passed, you probably had to tell people, don't send money, or we're just going to have to spend it on something, or I'm going to have to hide under my mattress, bank up the mattresses, or something like that. But now people can give, and they can give into your account. And so you'll send the request to friends, they receive the contributions. If they follow that link, the contributions will go straight into your STABLE account. Again, it does not affect your benefits or eligibility for benefits. And it's a great record keeping tool. The STABLE account in general helps you keep records of all of your transactions. So whereas before you might have, piles of receipts or just notes and things that you're trying to keep track of, this kind of helps you keep it all in one place and keep it all online. So like I said at the beginning, this is technically an investment account. There are 5 different options that you have. 4 of them are Vanguard mutual fund accounts that range from aggressive to conservative. And then there is one that is more of just almost like a regular savings account, but it's called the bank safe option. And it is going to be the one that will protect your principal amount the most. It is the lowest risk, but it is also the lowest yield, probably, if that makes sense. So we have a few examples here on screen. The four investment options are called, this is what they call them, what Vanguard calls these mutual funds, but you have your growth option, which is your most aggressive. It's going to have 80% in stocks, 20% in bonds. Moderate growth kind of comes down, has 60% in stocks, 40% in bonds. Conservative has flipped that, 40% in stocks, 60% in bonds. And then the income option has 20% in stocks, 80% in bonds. And then, as I said earlier, bank safe is really just an FDIC backed insured option. Now, if all of that sounded like gibberish to you, that is fine. And I am definitely not a financial advisor. I would recommend you speak to a financial advisor if you have one, or elicit an expert's opinion on what they think you should do with in your particular situation and with your money. But when you go into the account, when you open the account, it will prompt you to choose how you want to designate the funds. And so you can put 100% in a bank safe option, like on the left there. You can divvy it out all evenly across all of the different options, 20%, 20%, 20%, 20%. Or you can kind of pick and choose how you want to designate the funds into the accounts. As long as the grand total is 100%, you can do whatever you'd like to do. And I believe Doug, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe if you do not choose something, the default is that it will be bank safe 100%. Is that correct?
Yeah, you're absolutely right, Jennifer. And the reason why we did that is because sometimes that choice was making people scared to enroll into a program, because maybe this was the first opportunity they had to invest and they weren't ready to make a decision about putting money into investment options. So the bank safe option, truly is a safe option. It's just like that savings account. And so we just made it the default option so that people felt comfortable beginning to save. And as they grow in their comfort with financial education, the ability to make some decisions within investments, then they can move that. And that's the nice part, is that a decision you make now is not a forever decision. You get the opportunity to move it twice a year if you'd like to reallocate that. Now, I'm not a financial advisor. I know, Jennifer, you wouldn't claim to be one either. No. But general principles of investing would say don't continuously be moving it around, that you're really looking to what your goals are and making decisions based on whether it's short-term or long-term goals. But you do have that ability that if you change your mind and you want to take it from the bank safe and put it into an investment, you can do that.
Yeah, great. Thank you for adding that. Okay, so we're going to move on. We can come back to this if you guys have questions, but so spending your funds, withdrawals must be used on a qualified disability expense. Well, how do you define qualified disability expense? That's always the question, right? Can I spend it on blank? It must relate to the person with the disability. So that's the first and foremost thing. And then it needs to help maintain or improve the beneficiary's health, independence, or quality of life. Now, that's a very broad definition on purpose because everybody's situation is different. You can see on the screen here, there are a lot of different options that can be used for. Housing and rent, basic living expenses, groceries and toiletries and that kind of thing. Transportation, education, assistive technology, financial management, health and wellness, legal fees, and many more. I know one of the stories that Doug tells a lot, one of the examples that I really like is there was a young man who had autism, but listening to music really helped him, calm down, really helped him with his autism and kind of function a little bit better. And his dad was, asking on his behalf if he could use funds in the STABLE account to buy music, to buy CDs, or maybe it was vinyl, if he's really hip on the times these days. But, it's really up to you. It's between you and the IRS. If the IRS was ever to ask you to justify the expense, could you say that it was used for the person with the disability, and was it used to help maintain or improve that person's health, independence, or quality of life? And in the case of that young man, I think the case can be made that yes, music definitely helps improve his health, independence, and quality of life. So in that case, I think you can justify it. So that's really the question. The STABLE account team, we're not going to be able to answer that question ever 100% to say yes or no. Like I said, it's really an IRS ultimately question. If they were to ask you to justify the expense, can you justify it as helping maintain or improve the health, independence, or quality of life for the beneficiary? So next is spending from your account. So you can transfer to a personal checking or savings account out of a STABLE account if you'd like. You can pay a third party with a check. Doug, again, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think there's almost like a bill pay option in STABLE where you can send payments to, if you had a landlord or something like that, you can send payments. Is that correct?
Yeah, absolutely. We call it third party bill paying, but you can enter in the information of who you need to pay, and then we take it upon ourselves, the program, to send that payment out to the person that you want to pay.
Awesome. And then lastly, we're going to get into this next, but you can transfer onto a STABLE card. So we're going to, like I said, we're going to talk about that in just a minute, but those are just a few of the options on how to spend out of your account. It says there on the bottom, Georgia STABLE will not ask what you spend the money on, but benefits agencies and IRS can. So again, it's just, can you show that the expenses were spent correctly for a qualified disability expense? Let's see here. So STABLE card, we're going to talk about this next. What's great about the STABLE card is the name on the card is the beneficiary's name. So if, I think a lot of you said you were parents of a child with disability. If your child has never had something like a credit card with their name on it before, they actually can have a card that has their name on it. And I think that goes a long way to help encourage independence and just, and for all of us, I think that it's a really cool thing to have some independence there and to say, yeah, I've got this card that I can use. It's money from my account, and I can just, live life and go about my day-to-day business. So the STABLE card is a loadable prepaid debit card that can be accepted anywhere Visa is accepted. So I think it's actually a Visa card. It's loadable. It pulls directly from the account. You get to choose how much you want to put on the card. So that's a great protection just for the entire balance of the account. Now, if you wanted to move the entire balance of the account onto the STABLE card, you could do that. But if you by chance lost that card or it got stolen or something, then someone's going to have access to all of the funds in the account. So the reasoning behind that is that if you want to just pull out $100 and put it on the card, and you have like a monthly allowance, so to speak, that you want to give, and you just pull out that and put it on the STABLE card, then that card can be used anywhere Visa is accepted, and it will track the expenses. So wherever, if they're swiping it at Target or the gas station down the street or whatever it is, it'll keep track of all the expenses for you. And then you can also sign up for text alerts. So if you're getting low balance, if the card is getting a low balance, or I know that one of the things that's great is that you can turn on specific alerts for if the card is spent at a certain place. You can also turn off the ability to spend the card at a certain place. So if your child likes to go down to the 7-Eleven and get a big Mountain Dew every day, and you don't think that's necessarily the greatest option, then you can make it to where that card is not able to be used at that 7-Eleven, that specific 7-Eleven. And again, Doug, I'm going to ask you to correct me if I'm wrong there, but I think that's one of the great benefits of this card.
Yeah, you hit it right on, Jennifer, that this card is so unique in that it serves so many situations in a person's life with a disability. So, if you're managing your own account as a person with a disability, you get to control the card and all of the control features that are built into it. So if you want to limit it for yourself, you could, but if you want it to be wide open on where you can spend it, you can do that. But if you're a parent, you could have those limits put in place, those controls put in place. There's a dashboard that makes those controls. When you log on to use the card, you can turn on and off those controls. Same with the amount of money that's placed onto there. So if you think about the scenario with a parent that wants to provide a child, either a minor child or an adult child, with so much money, but just a limited amount of money, then they can control how much money that person has to spend on the card by just loading that amount of money only. So it's just an amazing card the way that it is designed. The company that provides that to us was developed or created as a company to serve people with disabilities. So the card is unique to serving the people that we are talking to today, and we're happy to be a part of working with them to provide this card through STABLE account.
Yeah, I know. I kind of wish I could get one for myself, because it'd probably be good to, curb my own spending sometimes. All right, so next is SSI Considerations. Oh, actually, I'm so sorry. Stacy, if you're there, I actually wanted to do the fourth polling question right here.
Right. I am pulling those up now.
And this is the one about the loadable debit card.
Got it. Here we go.
So just the question, how would a loadable debit card be helpful? And just check all that apply. Empower to spend in a usual way, not worry about receiving correct change, provide better record keeping than cash, provide access to only an appropriate amount of money, appropriately limit the places money can be spent, and provide peace of mind that others are not taking. We'll give you just a few more seconds here.
Jennifer, I should not have allowed all that apply, right? They're fantastic.
No, yep, it looks like people can relate to most of these, so that's good. Okay, you can probably go ahead and shut that down, Stacy. Thank you. Yeah, so it looks like you guys relate pretty much to all of these. The most is just provide better record keeping than cash. So yes, that is, I think, a great benefit. The next one on the list is provide peace of mind that others are not taking. Absolutely. And then provide access to only an appropriate amount of money and not worry about receiving correct change. in power to spend in a usual way, and then appropriately limit the places money can be spent. So those are great. That's good feedback, and we're glad that that is appealing to you guys and helpful. Okay, so now we're going to move and speak about, well, hold on, got to get back to the, there we go. We're going to speak about SSI considerations. So there are some, I guess, considerations with SSI. Balances over $100,000 in your stable account do count as a resource. But your SSI is only suspended. It is not terminated. So I think the reasoning behind that is that SSI is intended for food and housing. And their reasoning, I think, is that if you have $100,000 in your stable account, you probably have enough to be covering food and housing for yourself. But the minute that drops back below $100,000, again, your SSI will kick back in. And so you will, it will not be terminated, it is only suspended if you go over the $100,000 mark in your stable account. Also, if you transfer money from your stable account into maybe another checking account or something for the purposes of paying rent or something like that, that amount needs to be spent in the same month that it was withdrawn from the stable account. So if you, otherwise it can be counted towards resources for the purposes of determining eligibility for benefits. So just as a reminder, don't try to, you know, draw money out for the next 3 months for rent. Just do it kind of 1 month at a time, and it shouldn't be an issue. And then again, the beneficiary's own wages still count as income, even if they're contributed to a stable account. So that is just something to keep in mind, that if you are working, that the income you earn from working does count as income for purposes of SSI. So if the account holder passes away, the account will pass to the beneficiary's estate. The estate administrator then notifies Stable and can take over account access. There is no designated transfer upon death. The only exception to this, I believe, is if the beneficiary has a sibling who is also qualified to hold a stable account or to have a stable account, they can transfer to their sibling. That's the only exception, at least that I know of. But there's no designated transfer upon death otherwise. If the beneficiary does not have a will, then the account will go through the normal probate process. Now, I will say, actually, are we about to get to that? Yes, we're going to get to this on the next slide. So let me just move there. So Medicaid can ask for payback in some cases, but there are protections to that money. So upon the death of the beneficiary, the Medicaid can ask for payback, but there are limitations. So they can only ask for payback starting from when the stable account was opened. You are able to pay all of your outstanding bills for qualified disability expenses, as well as for funeral expenses. So you can really, if you wanted to, you could have the greatest funeral ever and, you know, maybe not leave so much for Medicaid. And then if you paid any Medicaid buy-in premiums, then you can also deduct that from what they can ask for, what they can ask for payback. Doug, did you want to add something here?
Yeah, I mean, this is always a complicated subject. And so Jennifer, you did a good job reviewing over this. This is always the area where people are like, is this the I gotcha moment? And, you know, Medicaid recovery is going to be a topic that this financial series that the ARC is providing is going to be covering on an upcoming presentation. But just from our perspective with Georgia Stable account, there is no better protection for what we call first party money, the money of the person with a disability. Because if you have that money, Medicaid can recover. What's happened is we've given the opportunity for a person with a disability to have more than $2,000. That never existed before. So now it's raised the concern that, you know, I don't want to lose my money to Medicaid after I die. You know, I want it to have some other purpose, to go some other place. And that is where Medicaid recovery does have an impact. Medicaid could take back part of the money from a Georgia Stable account. Jennifer's going to get into it in just a moment, but there's also the special needs trusts, which are a complementary tool. And so the only thing that I would point out at the Medicaid recovery slide where we're at here is if it's mom and dad, which is, a big part of the audience today, a parent of a child with a disability, and they're looking at generational wealth, money that they want to leave to their child with a disability, but if that child with a disability passes away, they want it to go to another sibling or to a charity or whatever the other place may be. A third-party trust is a great tool. That avoids Medicaid recovery for money that is somebody else's money left for the benefit of that person with a disability.
Mm-hmm.
But in the case of, that person working and owning or having their own money and being able to save it in an ENABLE account, in the case of unearned income, like income from SSDI, SSI that's not spent and being saved in a STABLE account, this is the most safe place that you can put it from Medicaid recovery.
Great, thank you, Doug.
Yeah.
Okay, is there a cost for having your ABLE account? There is a minimal cost for having a STABLE account. It is a $3.50 monthly fee, just a maintenance fee as of this point. Also, for whatever investment options you choose, there is an asset-based fee anywhere from 0.19% to 0.33%. From what I hear, that is very low on the fees. So, in the grand scheme, that's a really great investment option. And the $350 a month hopefully is not too bad, especially for the benefits that it is giving you.
Well, and Jennifer, I don't think it's premature now to say this, but Jennifer and I were just on a call yesterday where we've talked about the future of STABLE account. And I know that's why you were holding back was, we don't want to make announcements too soon. But what we can say is that because of the size of which we've grown, the economy of scale, and so many people utilizing STABLE account, we continue to reduce those costs. We've done that over time. It actually started out at $5 per month. We reduced it to $3.50 per month several years ago. Next year, in July of 2021, we already have a date set on that. That annual fee will come down to $3 a month instead of $3.50. So it'll be reduced by another 50 cents with plans that as we reach other growth goals, that'll continue to decrease. So sometimes people say, oh, well, that cost is going to go up, right? And we're very happy to announce that that's not the case. The more people that are able to participate in this program, the less that it costs per person, and we'll continue to reduce those prices. So happy to announce July 1st, 2021, that fee is coming down.
Great. Thank you for jumping in there, Doug.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure if I could say that or not. Okay, so the STABLE account and special needs trust, Doug was just touching on this, but they are complementary tools and can work really well together. Like he said, the trusts are really good for protecting generational wealth. So if you have, family members or yourself and you want to transfer more than $15,000 in a year, and you really want to build a nest egg, I guess, so to speak, a special needs trust can be a great tool to do that. And as Doug was saying, the STABLE account really just kind of allows you to have the broader spending power on housing and food. There's no tax on the earnings. And it can be established, administered, and maintained by the person with the disability. And so I think those are differences, but they can work well together. And I hope that helps answer some of the questions. I know special needs trust is probably more of a legal issue, so you may need to speak with, your legal team, so to speak, about that. But just to know that they are complementary tools and they both have their benefits.
And Stacy put in the comment box about the special needs trust. So thank you, Stacy, for reminding everybody about this. But part 4 of this financial future planning webinar series is about special needs trusts. And so you'll get to hear even more about the trust, like you're hearing today about the STABLE account. And then really when you have a full understanding of both tools, you can see how well they complement each other. So Stacy, thanks for the ARC and what they're doing to really show the full picture and to allow the experts in special needs trust to speak about that side of it as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, guys, this is our last slide, but I do want to mention the customer service for STABLE accounts because it is great customer service. They have won awards for their customer service. As you can see on the screen, they are open Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 8 p.m. Eastern. I know most of the time when I remember at 5 o'clock when I'm finishing work that, shoot, I needed to call whatever it was, And then I look, and of course they stop, their customer service ended at 5 o'clock. And so I have to go another day not remembering it. So I think it's great that they are open and available until 8 p.m. You're going to get a person when you call. If they can't help you or they don't know the answer, they will find the answer and get back to you. It's just a great team of people. So I would very much encourage you to call them, even if you just have questions prior to opening an account and you want to further delve into whatever your particular situation might be. We might not, of course, we don't have time to necessarily answer everyone's specific questions today. We are going to move into some Q&A here in just a minute if you do have questions today. But if we don't get to everything, just remember that this customer service for STABLE is a great resource. The number's right there. You're going to receive this slideshow packet, as Stacy mentioned earlier, so you'll have it. You could also email team@stableaccount.com, same customer service. And then the Georgia Stable website is down there as well, georgiastable.com, and that's a great resource. Like I said earlier, it has the eligibility quiz and some other things that you might need, and you can click right there on the website and open an account today. Should be pretty quick and painless. So with that, Stacy, can we just end with the last polling question, and then we can move into some Q&A? People have questions.
Sure. I was hoping you'd ask that. So I'm not, I want to give it away, but I'm not, because this is a good one. And I still wish I could answer.
After hearing about stable accounts today, I plan to, and you can check all that apply, definitely pursue a stable account, tell others about stable accounts, seek more information about stable accounts, or keep stable account in mind for the future.
And as everybody's, taking a minute to answer, I'll just take my state director of the ARC hat off and be a mama. It's been so helpful. There's a few questions that I'll point out that are Faye, one of my friends, asked a pretty pertinent question. But why not? It's $50 to open. He gets to do it, and he's actually, Ryan is actually looking at investments now. I don't know anything about him, but it gives him something. Evidently, this is an area he's interested in. So it's
awesome.
Fun to watch him grow with it. I'll put it that way.
Yeah, that's really neat. Thank you for sharing that. Okay. So that is awesome. I love to see that 48% of you are saying you definitely want to pursue a stable account. And then some of you are saying you want to seek some more information and keep stable in mind for the future, which is also great. Just reach out and let us know. Like I said, with customer service, reach out, let us know how we can help, if we can help. But yeah, with that said, Stacy, you want to jump into some questions?
Yes, definitely. So thank you so much. I'm glad it's recorded because I was busy in the chat, and I'm wanting to make sure that I got it's our audience who is important here. Doug, and I know that you've been answering, and what I've been doing, just so folks know, is when Doug answered one of those questions, I'm matching those up, and I'm creating us a little question and answer right here. There's some, Doug,
Right.
that I'm not sure I know. Well, again, this is a little self-serving, not that I want to admit that wholeheartedly, but a lot of people want to know. Doug, did you answer about education? Education is qualified disability expense. So yes, can the funds be in the account be applied to college? So he did answer that one.
Yeah, Jennifer answered it in the broad sense as well on a qualified disability expense and what that is. But, again, you go back to the definition of a qualified disability expense. And while education is specifically pointed out in the federal regulations as an example of a qualified expense, so we're very certain about education, the definition is so broad that it covers anything for health, independence, and quality of life. And Jennifer did a great job explaining that. But again, just to be reminded of how broad it is, what this can be used for. Some people think that, a qualified disability expense, that's going to be a limiting factor and that the account may not be useful because of the limits of that qualified disability expense. But it's so broad that anything related to health, independence, and quality of life, which is most any expense in a person's life, can be paid out of this account. So it is not limiting, very limiting at all, and it's really used for all of those purposes.
Hey,
Good.
Doug, I actually kind of have a follow-up question for that. Can you have both a 529 account and an ABLE account for the same individual? And if so, what might be the benefits of that?
Yeah, you can, Jennifer. That's a really interesting question. And we had a similar question about rolling money over from a 529 account into an ABLE account, which is also a possibility. So if you were following the chat, for those of you who are able to multitask and see those answers down there, I definitely wanted to point out that that is a possibility. For some, that may be because they started a college savings account and then found that they were not going to be going to college. And so that money can be protected by rolling it over into a STABLE account and then using it from the STABLE account without any penalty. Obviously, if you use it from a 529 account without having education expenses, then there's a penalty from the college savings account side. But rolling it over into a STABLE account allows the broad use of it under that qualified disability expense. Could you have them both at the same time? Actually, you could. There are two different regulated programs. They could exist simultaneously. You could be saving in both of them, as well as saving in one and later rolling it over to the other. So both are possible.
Another question that you may have answered it, Doug, because there was so much chat. Thank you, everybody. Does it allow for Venmo or Zelle payments?
You know, I saw that one. Thanks for asking, because I did not get into typing it. And I knew that the answer was a little more complicated than the quick chat answers. So it is a very sophisticated program that interacts with a lot of online transactions. I'll be honest, I don't think it does interact with Zelle, only because Zelle is a bank account transfer that has to operate through the banking institution that allows Zelle. So I think the answer to that is no. It is an answer we could follow up on, but what I would say is the STABLE account allows you to make electronic payments out of it directly. So a little bit like Zelle, probably not as instantaneous as Zelle and Venmo would be. Those are pretty instantaneous. You do have to allow time for some banking transaction to happen with STABLE account, but it can make those electronic payments. The STABLE card, being a debit card, a Visa card, can be used any place the Visa card is accepted. So we see the STABLE card being used for things like Uber and Lyft even, which is really important because transportation is such a big need for people with disabilities that it's great to be able to use in those forms as well. So I wish I had a more clear answer on Zelle and Venmo. I think there may be some complications to that answer, but it is STABLE account is very useful with online bill paying and other transfers.
And I'll go ahead and jump on to the card in case, again, not everybody was able to follow in the chat. So when it asked, did you have to request a card? And Doug and Jennifer had answered that one, but I'll let you share.
Yeah, to get a card, you do have to manually request that. One of the easiest places to find where to do that would be on the georgiastable.com website. On the resources page, there is a link there to request a card. We are making some improvements where that'll be a more natural question in the enrollment process. That's going to be coming in the future, but right now just going to the georgiastable.com website and clicking on that link would be your easiest way to do that. The reason why we do it as a manual request instead of just automatically sending it out to everybody, and I actually like sharing this because I think it shows a well thought out plan. The STABLE card costs money as a program to be able to offer that to participants. And for participants who aren't going to use it, there's no need to increase the program cost if they don't have any value in having that card. So we only send it out to those who want it, but we send it out at no cost. There's no additional fee for using the STABLE card, and we keep our program costs lower to each participant by only sending it to those who need it.
And this one may be specific to an account, so we might say we can follow up on this. It says it does not pull, and this is my buddy Faye, it does not pull directly from the account, and you just said it did. So I'm thinking that is in context with a slide that,
Yeah,
do you remember
Jennifer,
that one?
I was able to gain some context on that one in the chat.
Okay.
So I think what was a little bit needed just a little clarification, because I agree with the way that Jennifer stated it, but I also understand the question. What happens is you have to log into the STABLE account, which requires a username and password. If that's being done by mom and dad, they're the ones that have the username and password. And you have to then transfer money from the STABLE account onto the card. So the person holding the card, if that's a child with a disability, doesn't have direct access to the balance in the account just because they hold the card. That card has to be loaded by the account and a transfer from the account onto the card. So hopefully that provided the clarification. It sounded like Faye was satisfied with that answer and understanding it, but that's just a great way of both providing access to money through the card, but also providing some oversight and controls to the account itself.
And I'm watching the time, so we have a few more minutes. I'll shout out a few more of these that I know you answered in the chat, but just to broad knowledge. What about SSDI? Do the same rules apply?
Jennifer, I'll be happy to answer that one as well. With a little more background, serving people with disabilities, that's been my career. So I'm really excited to be a part of the STABLE account program since its beginning and roll this out for people to utilize. But my background working with people with disabilities allowed me to interact with other public benefit programs. And SSDI is a Social Security program, but it's an entitlement program and doesn't look at the $2,000 resource limitation. So SSDI, you don't have to shelter your additional resources above $2,000, but so many people that receive SSDI also receive SSI. And if you're receiving SSI, that does have a resource limit of $2,000, and that's the difference between SSI and SSDI. And you would certainly want to be protecting your money in a Georgia STABLE account if you have that $2,000 resource limit.
Perfect. Those are the main ones that I picked up on. Transfers to and from a special needs trust, Sheila had asked. I didn't know if you wanted to shout that out broadly.
What was that question again?
Yes, transfers to and from a special needs trust and STABLE account can occur. So that was your answer to Sheila. Can you transfer money from STABLE account into a special needs trust?
Yeah, it can go both ways. To be honest, the more used way and probably the more valuable way is the transfer from the trust to a STABLE account, but it could go either way. And the reason it's more useful from a trust to a STABLE account is usually the trust is the account that's holding a larger balance because of some of the protection features built into a trust. And then the spending ability from a STABLE account is so much greater than a trust that to leave the larger balance in a trust, if you're dealing with large amounts of money, again, those are unique circumstances, generational wealth and some of those situations, taking money from the trust and transferring it to the STABLE account so it can be used for spending throughout the year. But yes, you can do that.
So in the last minute or so, I'd love to give you or Jennifer last words and
go ahead, Jennifer.
Next steps.
Yeah, I just want to echo again and say thank you so much for joining today. Thank you for the opportunity to speak to you all and just to give a platform to hopefully help share this good news a little bit further. And as I said before, please reach out to customer service, or if you want to get in touch with myself or Doug individually, maybe just reach out to Stacy and she can get you in touch with us. But yeah, thank you so much for your time today and just for what you do every day.
Good. I was trying my best to get that last poll back up, guys. That was on me. That you could only click one.
I see.
Yeah, I had a choice that I could have put in there. So I want to apologize to some of my best buddies there. Are saying no, I can't click twice, but it's noon and I do want you to be able to take a break or get back to work. It's whatever you've got in front of you, and thank you all so much for spending this time with us. Jennifer, Thank you. This was really, really good and so needed. We
Well,
appreciate
thank you.
you.
Thank you for asking. I appreciate it. And thank
Yeah.
you, Doug.
Yeah, it was
Mhm.
great being with you guys.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Doug. Have a great day. We'll see you next week.
Bye-bye.
Bye.